Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and welcome to week 2 of the JDC Outlaw Series roll-off drag racing. This is going to be round 1. So here are the points after the finals of week 1. We got Wastelands Raceway at the top. He took it all last week, but everything gets shaken up this week. We have a whole new bracket, all been shuffled. And we're going to get started now with DIECAST OUTKAST against Amanda Ferrari. There was some shit talking this week. I saw that that Brian over at DIECAST OUTKAST was running his mouth, and we'll see if it pays off. Sometimes you can rattle your opponent by talking a big game, but you got to be able to back it up on the track. So we're going to start off as always. Red dice is right lane, so red is right and purple is left. Roll a 1 or a 2, it's 1 spot. You roll a 3 or a 4, it's 2 spots. If you roll a 5 or a 6, it's 3 spots. So right out of the gate, Amanda takes off and jumps, which is pretty much her MO. She has a very quick reaction time. However, Brian is catching up real quick and brings it even after 2 rolls in his Grand Sport. Grand Sport, well, Grand National. Whatever, same thing. It's a new car, newer car. Anything over 72 is new to me. So, but he's a Buick guy, so I won't hold it against him. But anyways, he's already off in the lead, so it looks like that smack talking was paying off a little bit. He might have rattled her just a bit, but she is pretty much pulling right back up to the bumper, and they are neck and neck, right about half track, and now they're staying about even. And it looks like she may have a little bit of an advantage coming in here. Brian's only moving 1 in DIECAST OUTKAST Grand National there. And he rolls a good roll of a 3. However, Amanda takes the win, shutting Brian's mouth for at least 1 week. Next up, ZELDA DIECAST Racing against Sylvester Groves. The 71 Long Nose Mustang versus the newer Camaro. Camaro right out of the gate in the left lane takes a 1-car lead. The Mustang is getting off to a little bit of a slow start here, while the left lane gets another 3-spot jump to a 1 spot. So who knows? But again, this the track is fresh. It's been a week. All these guys went back to the garage. They worked on their cars. I'm really stoked that people are getting into this. There's been some trash talking. There's been people talking about going back and working on their cars. It's just really exciting for me to know that people are getting into it as much as me and Jay are. So the Camaro's got a little bit of a lead going about half track. He takes a little bit of a jump here. They both move about the same, keeping that 1 car length width of the gap. But towards the end, the Camaro starts pulling away. He's got those extra gears in there. The right lane Mustang says, nope, I'm not done yet. I've got a little bit more in the tank. I only got to beat you by a nose, and I got a big one. So he jumps up to a 4, but the Camaro takes the win. OG Mikey against Eddie Bennett. Eddie Bennett had a good week last week. Just one of those things. He comes into this with 3 points, which isn't great, but what's awesome about this track is, in this series essentially, is even after this week, even if you haven't gotten anything, there's still plenty of time, because the points get shaken up quite drastically with a total of 17 points on the line. Anything can happen. And in the first round of this race, we have some killer matchups that could really change the game. So if you can keep your momentum going, that's the big thing. But most importantly, it's being consistent and being able to keep your car tuned to the track changes. So we got the Camaro and the GMC Cyclone really going down even. They are pretty much going side by side. However, the right lane takes a 1 car length gap just towards the end. Now he gets a 3 roll, pretty much solidifying the win, because all he's got to do is cross the line with any number, and he does, and it's still not enough for the Camaro. Next up, we got Flying Valiant against Speed Racer. We got old school and new school. You got the Challenger versus the new Shelby Mustang. Both really didn't have a good week last week, so this is going to be a good race for somebody to help get them into the points and to really start their upward climb towards being in the top 8 to be able to go against Jay and his top 8 in the Sweet 16 race. So the right lane is taken off like he is shot out of a cannon. I'm not sure what's going on. The right lane does seem to be a little bit better right now, but it's going to come in on the left lane at some point once enough cars go down. Who knows? Again, these guys all had a week to go back and work on their cars, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I'm not 100% sure what these guys did, but if you don't get your setup right out of the gate, even though they did have some testing time, I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss. But the Challenger is caught up to the Mustang. He gets a 2-car, but the Mustang gets 3 and crosses the finish line first. Next up, we got Chris Welch in the GTO against Alf Red in the 61 Impala. Right lane is obviously red, and it's a red car, so it kind of works out. But the left lane takes off with a 2-car to 1-car jump lead. It seems like the left lane out of the gate is a little bit better, but the right lane seems to come in right about the 60-foot mark. So you have to account for that with your setup. It all depends on when you put your power down, and you got to play with your horsepower curves, and if you've got boost, if you've got nitrous. It all depends when you want the stages to hit, and you don't want to get too loose if you come in too soon. But that big heavy Impala is taken off, leaving the GTO with a 2-car gap about half track, and once again gets a really nice roll, keeping a 2-car gap on that GTO. They're staying fairly consistent, and then he just jumps with 3 to 1, really just blowing him out of the gate. One more roll, he's got it. Looks like the 61 Impala is going to take it for the win, and once again puts a stamp on it with a 3 roll. We got Chris Gibbs against Honest DIECAST in the Chevelle wagon. We got Dart versus Chevelle. And right out of the gate, they both come out with the same roll, which is good to see. They're both launching good. They had good quick reaction times. The right lane takes a 1-car length jump on the wagon. The wagon is trying to find a way to hook up. Ran really good last week. The Dart, unfortunately, Chris went home right out of the gate, first round. But that's what's great about this is there's always next week. So he seems to be doing really good right now. He's got 2 cars and keeping 2 cars at least on the Chevelle wagon, which has a lot of horsepower, and he's able to get it to the ground. But this week, I'm not sure what's going on. That 2-car length seems to be fairly consistent. And once again, it looks like he even opened it up to 3. One more roll will solidify it for him, and he ends on a strong note. Next up, we have COOTER'S Speed Shop against SRS DIECAST. COOTER'S taking over my ride this week in the 66 Nova, and I'd put it up on the video if somebody wanted to drive it. He signed up because I feel like I shouldn't race in my own race. This is a tough one for me. My favorite car is a Chevelle, and the 66 is a custom that I built to replicate my 66 Nova that I had about 10 or 15 years ago. And it was a 66 with a Corvette 327, Muncie 4-speed, 390 gears. Thing was not good on the top end, but man, he could pull a stump out of the ground. But the Chevelle is taken off. He's got a 1-car length win as far as the half track part goes, but the Nova is lighter. If you've ever driven both, Chevelles don't handle all that well, but if you got them set up right for the track, who knows? So right now, it looks like the Nova is going to take a little bit of a jump. He's got a full 1-car on the Chevelle, and the Chevelle has more in the tank and steps up, closes the gap as they're coming down the back stretch, and I think it's a little too late, and it is the Nova COOTER'S Speed Shop takes the win. Next up, Jx4 Racing, Mario Skull Motors, the Javelin, which is another one of my customs that I built, did really good last week. Mario not so much in the Torino. However, again, it's a new week, and this could be, all the guys and girls in the back are looking at the matchups and they're trying to see who's racing who, and anybody who's got a lot of points, they're rooting for the other guy, and Mario is the other guy this time. And the Torino, right out of the gate, takes a little bit of a lead. It's not something to write home about yet, but he now opens it up to a full car length, and the half-track area looks like it's going the Torino's way. The Javelin just doesn't seem to have it this week. You got to keep up with the changes. You got to be proactive. That's why we have testing time, but some of these guys, you know, they test out in the other lane and they don't really know what they got. So looks like the Torino is only one spot away from taking its first win, while the Javelin is crawling around at a snail's pace about the half-track mark. And even though it's a small roll for the left lane, he takes the win. Bill Stelzer, Chevyland TV in the Buick Grand Sport. Bill was really doing well last week. He comes into this week with 9 points. The Grand Sport is one of those guys that everybody's rooting for. So the left lane is taking off. Wow. Sometimes you just don't know. You know, you swing and you miss 1 week, and the next week you're a hero. So right now at about the 3/8 mark of the track, he is a hero, but there's still plenty of power left in that 71 satellite. And right now they are both pacing each other lap or spot for spot, and they're actually going kind of slow at this point. But the 71 satellite, we know, has a huge power plant, rolls for 3 spot, but unfortunately so does the left lane in the Grand Sport. Wow. Now all of a sudden he takes the win at the end. Next up is Gene Eggleston against Rob Furrow. The Barracuda did pretty decent last week, while the Mustang could have had a better week, let's just say that. But right out of the gate, they're even. Then the COOTER takes a 1 car length jump. Now they're moving at a fairly equal pace with the you know, they're maintaining this gap, and that's half the battle. If you can keep this gap consistent, you have a chance to jump ahead depending upon where your power points are in your car. Everybody's vehicles have a different area where their car is going to come in better. You know, obviously the goal is to be consistent all the way down, but that doesn't always happen, especially since we're only in week 2, and they're pacing each other side by side with big 3 jump rolls. This one's going to be anybody's game, and again they roll the same. This could be huge for either person to win. Once again, they both get 2 spots. However, the left lane has the higher number. That's what happens. The Mustang takes it over the Barracuda. All right, next we have Wasteland Raceway versus Caliber 50 Customs. Wastelands and the the Chevelle was actually last week's winner, and was really doing well. This is one of those races where everybody's really rooting for Caliber 50 Customs, because you know, you don't want to win 2 weeks, or you do want to win 2 weeks in a row, but you got 31 other people that don't want you to win. So but looks like the Camaro is really off to the races. I'm not sure what is up with the Chevelle. It looks like it was really loose. You hear a little bit of a sputter in the motor, but that could just be, that could be nothing, could be my ears. But that Camaro is really rocketing out. He's got a full 3-car gap going in with only a few spots left. Unfortunately, he rolls only a 1. They make a little bit of ground made up with the Chevelle. He might have just enough, and he does not. He comes to the finish line, and then the Camaro crosses as a winner. Next up, Mike ESPO DIECAST Customs against Donovan Kenyon. Mike ESPO and that gasser surprised everybody last week and really came out swinging. Made a few rounds, got some crucial points, and the Mustang had a little bit of an engine problem last week. I thought it got fixed this week. We shall see. Hopefully everybody brings their A game, because we're getting to the point or I'd say starting next week, if you guys don't have your crap together, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to catch up. But again, as I stated, with 17 points available total for a winner, you know, anything's possible. Plus, we're looking for the top 8. Plus, every round you go is a round somebody else isn't going. So this points shakeup is going to be really, really close. It's something to watch as we go down the last 2 weeks of this race. So the 55 has really got a 2-car gap, and he takes the win at the end, leaving the Mustang wondering what's going on. Next up, AD Custom Elite against Rick Marshall and that Dodge Viper. The Nova didn't have a good week last week, neither did the Viper. So this should be one of those races that sets and maybe gets the momentum going for at least one of these guys, and the other guy will have a full week to go back and tweak again. You know, there's just some things you gotta just keep working on, and when it hits, it hits. And then when it does, you guys better all watch out. So who knows? But halfway down the track, they're both pacing each other with the Nova and a 1 advantage. Now a full gap between himself and the Viper. They both are rolling fairly consistently, but that's not going to do it for the right lane. The right lane needs to get a little bit more, and he's losing. He lost a spot on that particular roll. There's only 2 spots left, or 1 in the finish line. He gets a good jump at the end, but it's a little too late. The Nova takes the win. Next up, Johnson 9195 against Full Custom Diecast Garage, which I saw pictures of Facebook. He was working on his Nova, so let's hope that he made the right choices. The Plymouth takes a 1-car advantage right out of the gate. The left lane's only rolling a 1. Another full car in between. Now they both roll the same, so they're going to keep the gap the same. The Nova's light. The Plymouth is a pretty heavy car, and there we go. We get a 3 to a 1. He brings it up even. I'd say about the half track mark. The right lane gets another jump. The mid torque on this thing is unreal. He's taken off to the races. The 3-car gap might be a little too late. The Nova rolls a 3, and right at the end he has some, but it's not enough to take over the GTX. Kamikaze Customs versus Colin Harvard. Colin was pretty adamant about running an old 56 pickup. He wanted to see it running down the track. Both these cars did not do well last week, but this is a new week. Track conditions have changed. It's actually a little bit warmer than it was last week. We were in the 40s. Today is just about going to breach 50. The sun's actually in, though, as opposed to last week when it was out. So the track condition is a little scary, and it's changing because there's a lot of clouds. So sun's in, sun's out, sun's in, sun's out. So it's a matter of when you race as well and what lane. But the Challenger is really taking off, leaving the 56 Ford just a little bit behind. He's starting to make up a little bit of room, and then all of a sudden there's a 4-car gap at the end, and the Challenger is pretty much just going to coast across the line. Next up, Mike's Mods and Customs against Southpaw Diecast. Mike did pretty decent last week. Southpaw has a little work to do. The left lane gets 3, the right lane gets 2. The Camaro and the Monte Carlo are hopefully going to be giving themselves a fairly decent race here. There's a 2-car gap already. That's what happens when you get loose right out of the gate. Now it's a 4-car gap. I'm not sure what's going on with the Monte Carlo. I mean, those things, when they hook, they hook. So I'm not sure if he's having engine problems. The left lane gets 2. Right lane gets 1. He opens it up by 1 more. I lost count of how many spaces there are in between. Mike's got this thing hooked up and rolling. He started this way last week as well, so I'm not really sure. Seems like he's got his shit together, and he takes the win. Points after round 1, week 2. This definitely shakes things up a little bit. You got Wastelands Raceway, Gene, Bill, J4 Racing. You get a bunch of 9s. You get some 6s, 3s. This is getting crazy. Remember, it's the top 8 that transfer. If there's a tie at the bottom, there will be a runoff. There will be 8 definitive winners with for points that are going to go to Jay's track for the Sweet 16. So, as you can see, things are changing, and Wastelands got knocked out first round, so he didn't gain any points. So anything can happen here at the Outlaw Series from JDC. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on round 2.